A few months ago, I made a video talking about the effects of microtransactions on football games. It was a topic that matters to me quite a lot. I've put in at least 100 hours into each one of the big three football games for the past 20 years, and I want all of them to be great games. One of the most common comments on the microtransactions video was that it was just me getting older, and the new games are actually much better products. I wanted to see if this was the case, so I went back to play every FIFA game from FIFA 14 all the way to EA Sports FC, as well as several old PES and Football Manager games, just to make sure it wasn't some kind of nostalgia. Before we start, I think it's important to share that I believe that football games reached peak fun between 2006 and 2020. I do fully agree that the games now are much more polished, but to investigate why this genre might be declining, we'll talk about all three franchises, beginning with FIFA.
Football. It hurts and humbles.
Let's take an objective look back at FIFA 14. It's clearly much less visually appealing than the modern games, the colours are dull and the player models look a lot older than they actually are. Of course, graphics aren't everything, but the gameplay on the field is also actually quite bad. I found the jump back to be way more abrupt than I expected. I found the lack of responsiveness to be the biggest hurdle, and it's not like this is even for realism reasons like older PES games used it for. Off the pitch though, you can see why people, including myself, actually enjoyed these games so much. Career mode is missing basically no features when compared to FC24. The youth academy and transfer systems are just as deep, and player development is either exactly the same or actually better on FIFA 14. Sure, you can't use Creator Club, but only about 8% of the viewers on this channel even use that feature, so it's not like it's one that people would really miss. But that's just FIFA 14. With a brand new console generation, you'd expect either FIFA 15 or FIFA 16 to be the massive leap forward, right? Wrong, these two games could easily have been PS3 era games. That's how backward their gameplay feels compared to modern FIFA games. Off the pitch though, very little changed. Gameplay was slightly better than FIFA 14, but it's clear that EA was starting to focus on totally different game modes. Maybe one with packs and microtransactions, but for gameplay, FIFA 17 was the last big leap forwards. This is the point where the game really started to stagnate. It was the same year that Foot got Champions, the mode that made the focus of the game competition instead of fun. I can't help associate the rise of Foot with the downfall of not only FIFA but all football games in general. Of course, Konami couldn't resist copying them with eFootball, but as many people pointed out in the comments of the last video, Sports Interactive didn't do it, but I definitely know they would if they could. Even as a career mode YouTuber, it's super easy to get sucked into the regular Foot content cycle. I know deep down I'd probably prefer playing career mode, but when you pack a good player, you can't really resist trying them out. Can you imagine how good a game could be if there was a regular offline mode updates, just like in Ultimate Team? Maybe a weekly new stadium, a monthly new tournament, or even yearly improvements to things like youth teams would be massive. Anyway, let's not just make part 2 of the microtransactions video. It's actually tough to say which parts of each game is better or worse than the modern era. Sure, there are a few things you'd miss playing these older games, but it's nowhere near as much as you would expect. If you compare a similarly aged game in the F1 series, you've had entirely new online modes added, you've had a revamped offline career mode, and until recently every game was actually a really improved experience. So is FIFA actually getting worse? Well, on the pitch it's probably actually improving, but it is losing realism, while off the pitch, career mode has definitely stagnated. Of course, FIFA isn't the only football game series out there though.
Pro Evolution Soccer 5.
My experience with PES goes back a bit further than my experience with FIFA. In the PES fanbase, the real nostalgia is for PES 4, 5 and 6, but a few people also stick around on modded versions of 2012, 2016 and 2021. Now I can say for a fact that modern football games have moved past the gameplay of PES 6, as fun as it is, and I can't really comment on games like International Superstar Soccer. As someone who didn't really grow up playing them, I actually find it quite hard to learn how they actually work. While ISS is loved, FIFA was still the big dog in football until the PES series became the king of football games from PES 4 in 2005 until PES 6 in 2007. Each game was full of quirks. For example, real money wasn't actually used in Master League, instead it was a fake credit system. If you budgeted these credits wrong, you'd be fired with no way of changing jobs. You could get a 16-year-old Maldini playing alongside your 18-year-old Messi. It wasn't really realistic at all, but it had a bit of heart. Still, as good as the PES series was, I'd be lying if I said these older games are better than the final PES game in 2021. Moving in just 8 directions was awkward to get used to, and career mode only had 4 leagues. It's clearly nearly a 20-year-old game. Don't get me wrong though, for its time it's an insane experience, totally cutting edge, but compared to the final PES, it's a much less fun game. We aren't comparing PES 6 and PES 2021 though, let's compare it to the actual latest game, eFootball 2024. The fact that Master League even existed as a mode puts it above all the recent eFootball games. Just like we mentioned earlier with EA, the microtransactions craze was hard for Konami to resist. So much so that even 3 years after release, they've not added any offline career modes, despite millions of fans wanting it to be added. It's clear that in the case of eFootball, this is actually worse than PES was 10 years ago, let alone 2 or 3. While FIFA took a tiny step forwards, eFootball has taken a massive leap backwards. As a game, eFootball is both less fun to play on the pitch, and there's less things to do off the pitch. A total downgrade on all fronts. As PES and FIFA have been the titans of the football game industry for decades, there is of course a smaller but more hardcore game. Football Manager is a super detailed and in-depth management sim. You don't play the matches, and they look like they were rendered on a PS1, but basically every screen is just a spreadsheet. Despite this, myself and millions of others spend hundreds, if not thousands of hours each year perfecting our teams. I have so much love for basically every system in Football Manager. Regens are easy to get attached to, finances matter, and 99% of the actions that a real manager does in real life can be done in the game. But the thing is, I could also have said this about FM 2011. Let's take FM 2016. Can you remember all the new features added to the game this year? Probably not, because despite 99.9% of people only playing offline careers, the game decided to add fantasy draft and create a club. How about last year, FM 23? Well, the biggest feature was the squad planner, a system that was already in the game and the majority of people still ignore. Without a competitor, there's basically no reason for FM to add any massive new features. People have asked for stadium editors for years, updated match engine graphics, better regen faces, better AI squad planning, and so much more. But finally, it looks like Sports Interactive has listened, because all of this has been promised for FM 25. Normally, even if one of these things being added would be huge, so to be finally promised several huge changes in just one season is massive for everyone in the football game community. I've noticed the pattern with Football Manager. People start playing career mode on FIFA, realise it's quite shallow, and then move on to FM. The big gulf in quality makes FM seem like this massive game full of realism and details, but really it's probably just at the level that FIFA should already be at. The FM25 leap will make things even bigger between the two games, a new game engine, the jump to Unity, a bunch of new leagues thanks to women's football being included in the career mode, better on-the-field presentation, better off-the-field screen flow, and so much more. If this game doesn't end up being the buggy mess it easily could be, FM25 could finally save the football gaming genre. Ignoring FM25, on a whole though, FM has improved over the last decade. Just like in FIFA, some things have improved. The tactics and transfers are so much better than they used to be, but I can't avoid mentioning regen faces yet again, and that's for a reason. Look how much worse they got from 2010 all the way to last year's FM23. I know graphics aren't why we play FM, but thank God for Nugan and the ability to replace them with AI created faces. So, are football games getting worse? I think that question depends on how you frame it. Compared to each other, FM and FIFA are improving at similar slow rates, but hopefully FM25 will provide a big boost. Compared to other genres like RPGs, racing games, and even other sports games, I think it's fair to say this genre doesn't really improve at the same rate. Maybe it's annoying to look at what we have and imagine how much better things could be. It might be yearly releases that are holding us back. Maybe it's football fans not playing other genres to compare the games with. But something really does need to change, and the world really does deserve a football game that gets better every single season. I'd like to read your opinions on everything I said in this video. It's a bit different to the stuff I normally make, but I feel like this is a view that is shared with the majority of people who watch my content. If you're interested in my microtransactions video and you haven't already seen it, it's on the screen right now. But thank you for watching. I'll see you soon. Cheers and goodbye.